Hey guys, Richard Blaine here. I want to thank you for stopping by my Easy Cooking channel tonight. You know, a couple of weeks ago I made a dish called yakiniku, which is a grilled meat dish which is made in both Japan and Korea, although there are some slight differences. And one of those slight differences is the side dishes that are served with this particular yakiniku, the grilled meat. I happen to like one of the side dishes on the Korean side of the grill called Jook Pa Muchim, or Pa Muchim, green onion salad. I made it, I showed it in the recipe, but I didn't show how I made it. And one of my viewers in one of the Korean food communities that I'm a member of said, why don't you show us how to make your version of Pa Muchim, green onion salad, spicy green onion salad. And so I agreed to do it. So tonight I'm going to be doing a rather simple video. I'm going to be showing you how I make my Pa Muchim. There are many ways, and this is my way of making it, and I think it's rather delicious, and it goes good with any meat. It's a fantastic barbecue dish. So, as usual with YouTube, let's get going, and I'm going to show you how to make the best Pa Muchim. Let's get going. Now you might ask, what makes my Pa Muchim better than other people's Pa Muchim? Well, one of the things that helps is this puppy right here. This is a green onion shredder, okay, or a scallion shredder. In Korea, it's referred to as a shallot shredder, but it's really not. It's a green onion shredder. And the first time I saw one of these puppies was on an episode of a TV show called The Kimchi Chronicles, and it took me 2 years to find a quality distributor where I could find a quality unit like this to purchase. This was not cheap. This was not cheap at all. But this is absolutely the best way to make Pa Muchim, and I'm going to show you how to use it, so let's get going. Alright, so here's the little onion shredder that took me so long to find, and what you do with it is you make sure your countertop is clean, and you take this lever and it suctions it down. Now, you can make Pa Muchim by taking a paring knife such as this and cutting your green onions in half and sit there and slicing and slicing and slicing until your hair turns gray and until your Social Security checks start coming in. But really, that's not the optimal way, and the Koreans figured that out. So somebody invented this green onion slicer, which makes a lovely angel hair out of your scallions. And what you do is you stick it in the top like this, and you turn the handle, and look at that. Okay, shredded green onion. Okay, so I have about, here we go, shredded green onion. Look at that, it's beautiful. Okay. I have about 1 pound of green onions that I'm going to shred, and I'm going to do so, and then we're going to move on to the next step. I just wanted to show you this little device because it really makes shredding green onions for Pa Muchim so much easier. You just stick it in the top, grind. There are about 12 rotating blades in there. Sometimes you can do 2 at a time. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Oops. Angel hair. All right, and you just do it right there on the counter, and then you move it to a cutting board, of which I am going to do. And I'm going to take care of this pound of green onion, and I'll be back shortly. So here we are. This is what 1 pound of finely sliced, finely shredded green onions look like. It looks like a big pile of green spaghetti. And one of the things we're going to do to make the Pa Muchim easier to handle is we're going to slice it up a little bit. I can leave it in its full length, but then sometimes when you're working with chopsticks or a fork, it can get a little unruly. So about every inch or so, I take the cleaver. There we are. There we are. There we go. And then one time, down the middle. This just makes the Pa Muchim easier to pick up on a fork, easier to pick up on chopsticks, a lot more manageable. Now I'm going to move on to the next step and put it in a bowl, and I'm going to show you how I mix it up with the other ingredients, and then we're going to grill some meat, so hang on tight. Now, this is what 1 pound of shredded scallions looks like in a mixing bowl, but we're going to add a couple of things to it, okay? This here is one finely sliced brown onion, all right? We are going to add that to the Pa Muchim. And 1/2 of a purple onion, the Purple Nurple, all right? We're going to add this to the Pa Muchim. And I'm just going to pick it up once here, and I'm going to turn it by hand, maybe a couple of times. Get them a little bit mixed in well, just like that. That's all, right there. That's as far as I'm going to go. Now, this seems like a lot of onion, and it is, but it's in its raw form. We need to get it to wilt down. One of the things you can do is you can use salt, but if you like the more pungent flavors of Korean food, and I do, you can use a little bit of fish sauce. So you pour the fish sauce over the top. We're talking about now close to 2 pounds of onions here with all the onion, okay? Little bit of fish sauce, just like so. That's it right there. About 2 tablespoons, maybe 3, maybe a little bit more. It doesn't matter. I'm free pouring. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit on the counter for about a half an hour, and the salt in the fish sauce will allow the onions to wilt, and then we're going to move on to the next step. All right, if you will notice in the mixing bowl, that almost 2 pounds of onion between the pound of scallions, 1 brown onion, and 1/2 of a purple nurple, that's just about 2 pounds worth of onions. You see, it's reduced significantly, but yet we are not finished with the fixins. So the next ingredient in is sesame oil. Here we go. Between 2 and 3 tablespoons, just depends on your tolerance for the taste of sesame oil. Toasted sesame seeds. I also put some on top when I'm ready to eat this puppy. All right, there we go. Some gochugaru crushed red Korean chili flake. As much as you'd like, depending on how much heat. I've got about 3 tablespoons here because I like it a bit on the warm side. Yes, I do. All right, there we go. And about, for this much, about 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. You could use sake. Some minced garlic. For 2 pounds, about 2 to 3 tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons of minced garlic. Remember, Korean flavors are about garlic and about pepper. 2 teaspoons Korean shoju or soju. And one of my little additions that some people use, some people don't use, just about a teaspoon of oyster sauce. There we go. That's all. That's all. Now, I'm going to take a fork and spread this out, and I'm going to start mixing this together. I could put on some gloves, plastic gloves, use my hands, but it's not necessary because the onions have wilted. They've become very pliable, and they allow me to mix these ingredients easily. Yum. So I'm going to continue mixing this together, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we'll move on to the next step of grilling some meat to go with this, and it's going to be good. There it is, guys, the final product. Pa Muchim, spicy green onion salad. Now, in a lot of recipes, people add sugar. In my particular recipe, I don't like to add sweet to the Pa Muchim because I like to have the flavor of the onion savory and of the garlic savory, the heat from the gochugaru, and the salt from the fish sauce. So I don't add any sweet to it. But there it is. Look at that, 2 pounds. 2 pounds reduced to maybe a pound. Pound and a half after the water's been sweated out of it. And now I'm going to move on to the next step, which I call the poor man's method for grilling meat. So hang on tight. All right, boys and girls, this is my poor man's method for grilling meat. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. But if you don't have an electric indoor grill like I do, and you don't have a backyard or front yard for a barbecue grill like I don't, you can use your non-stick pan. You don't need oil, that's why it's non-stick. You just heat it up the right way, and you take your meat and you just lay it in the pan. This is some pork. I cut this from assorted blade chops. There's a nice amount of fat. And what happens is, because you're not using any oil, you're going to get a lovely, lovely sear and char without having a barbecue grill. Okay. I found that a lot of my friends that cook didn't know that you could do that with this in this method, but you can. You can. So you don't want to overcrowd. And if you cut it like I did, about 1/4 inch thick, it's going to cook quicker than you think. So I'm going to let this cook on one side and get a nice sear and char, and I'll show you what it looks like. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. There you go. About 3 minutes, maybe almost 4 minutes on one side. And then I turn the slices over, and look at how golden seared they are. Golden brown and seared. I didn't need any oil because of the fat content, and I did this on a medium high, and then as it began to smoke a little bit too much, I reduced the heat until I found just the right setting, and look at that, nice golden sear. Okay. And it's going to taste delicious. Right? Nice sear, caramelized. This is what I call poor man's grilling. So I'm going to grill the other side, and then we're going to plate up. Actually, I might even make some chicken, I'm not sure. But I'm going to continue grilling this until it's nice and golden on the other side and complete, and then I'll either decide to make some chicken or to plate up. So I'll be back in a few. Well, I couldn't resist, so I decided to sear up some chicken. This is some cut up chicken thigh, and as you can see, it got nice and golden and caramelized and seared. And it should be ready in about another 3 or 4 minutes on the other side, and then I'm going to plate up. But this is what it looks like. That fat is not from the pork. That fat is coming out of the chicken on a medium sear, a medium heat, and it should be done in a couple of more minutes, and then I'm going to plate up. I'll see you in a bit. We are all done. Riley is over here at my feet. He's chomping at the bit because he can smell all these wonderful smells. And so I'm going to build a bowl for dinner. And one of the things I'm going to do is there's some of that nice poor man's grilled pork. Oh, yeah, about 2 pieces. You know, about 2 pieces. And I also grilled or seared some chicken. I like chicken. About 3 pieces right along the side. Well, maybe 4, because I really like chicken. And then the star of the show along the side was the chopped up Pa Muchim. Oh, spicy green onion salad. This is just delicious. Oh, here we go. Get it out of the center there. There we go. There we go. Just a little bit more because I really, really like Pa Muchim. Onions. One of the healthiest things on the planet for you. Onions, garlic, chili pepper. Oh my God, look at this. And then what do we do for the rice? Well, I reach over to my closet here, and just for the salt layer of umami, a little bit of soy sauce. That's about it right there. There's really nothing else for me to put on it. This is dinner. It looks lovely. I hope you make this recipe. I hope you make the Pa Muchim. It's just lovely. And I hope you do the poor man's sear for the meat, because if you don't have a grill, it's the only way to make meat is to sear it in a nonstick. I want to thank you for stopping by. I'll see you on the next video. Enjoy. Take care.